without a doubt who understands the meaning of preserving culture and heritage, being the Green Party's first MP with Cook Islands and Maori heritage based in Palmerston North. Someone who has also worked with the UN to ensure the voices of remote Indigenous communities are heard. And within the Pacific communities, he's very well known for his works around education and climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Teanau.
Kia ora, tēnā tātou katoa ki rungi nā āhuatanga o te wā. Mihi ana ki te ohu whakahaere I karapene tātou ki raro te whakaruru hau o tēnei o nā Zoom hui. Nōku noiho tēnei me te tuku te aroha, te tuku te tautoko, ki rungi I tēnei rā whakahirehira, kia maumahara te pēhiatanga, te raupatutanga o nā ihi raira ki nā tangata take ki Palestine. Kia ora, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora, everyone. My name is Teanau Tuiono. I just wanted to greet you in a good way and to acknowledge this day of solidarity of the people of Palestine, and also to recognise the oppression of the Israeli state of Palestinian people. And I see that as somebody that's worked my entire life with Indigenous peoples communities. I see a settler colonial state when I recognise a settler colonial state when I look at what's happening over in Israel, with the way that they're building those illegal settlements, the way that they're taking land, the way that they're continuing to deny the human rights of Palestinian people. I see my role here as someone who is standing in solidarity, and I think one of the most important things that we can do in terms of solidarity is showing up. To show up, to support, to show up to tautoko people, and to be there when people call on you. And I was just so my role in this is supporting the good work that my friend Goris Garaman has been doing in Parliament, and lifting up the voices of marginalised people, particularly our whānau from the Middle East as well. But this is a sentiment that is shared right throughout the Green Party for our Green Party MPs. It's not just a couple of us within the party; it's all of us. And I remember our co-leader Barama Davidson a number of years ago was on one of the boats that were trying to break the blockade that was around Gaza as well. So it is something that is keenly felt within the Greens in terms of the injustice on Palestinian people. I see the strong connections between tangata whenua as someone who is Indigenous to this land, and to recognise the struggles for tino rangatiratanga and self-determination for Indigenous peoples. And for a number of years, when I've talked to different Māori people that have gone over to Palestine, just recently I was meeting with Auntie Pauline Tangiora, who's out in Mahi, and she was over and she's been over to Palestine and talked about how it's really, really important for us to express solidarity, and different Māori activists that have gone over there as well. And also being able to host Palestinians that have come over onto these shores, and to listen and to hear the stories, because often you don't hear them, right? We have the mainstream media tend to, depending on who you're tuning into, they'll play one side of the story. So in order to get to the truth, it's through events like this, and also from people coming over from Palestine, that we could truly be informed of what's happening over there. And I was just reflecting on the last event that I got to that you guys hosted as well. I remember the kai, I remember the whanaungatanga, and I remember the connections as well, and how that really does also play an important part in making those connections. And these are amongst the reasons why I support. I was thinking back, I actually can't really remember the first Palestinian solidarity protest event that I've been on, but I do remember taking my daughter as a baby on a pram to a Palestinian solidarity event in Wellington, and she's 24 next year. And so for me, and I guess for all of us, because probably most of us on this call were born after 1948, it's like there's been a lifetime of this oppression. There's been a lifetime of these events, and every time Palestine comes up in the media, sometimes I feel I often, I just sort of take a step back. So I'm trying to wonder who they've killed now. Yeah, you know what I mean? Who have they? Which child have they put in prison? Which village have they bowled over? Um, what have they done? Whose human rights have they trampled on? Because it's been happening for all of our lives. And so for me, it, I think it's really important for us to recognize the role of the international struggle and for us to do all those things. And I totally support what Gauri's was saying, and around making sure that we get all that stuff on the record, because New Zealand is it can be a different place, and for us to advocate with the other political parties to put these important motions to get our solidarity on the record in the House, because those are the things that people internationally look at as well. And so we will continue to do that, and I will continue to support Gauri's to do that. But there's all those other things that we can do as well when we're thinking about solidarity and how we can build that here within New Zealand. What is it? How do we build solidarity between tangata whenua and Palestinians? How do we build solidarity between those people who are organising and fighting against Islamophobia, who are fighting against all the different phobias? These are the different ways that we can actually build connections with each other when we learn each other's struggles, when we come together as communities to connect. These are the things that I believe that help us to make us stronger. One of the groups out here in Palmerston North that I work with and interact with, because I'm part of the community as our interfaith community, and it's a way to sort of bring together from different people from different religious perspectives, whether they're from Muslim or Sikh or Christian or Baha'i, and then understand that, we are different, but we must find those ways to connect, to actually build that understanding between those different communities. And these are some of the ways that we can actually build those connections as well, because these days, like when I think back to those protests, those solidarity actions, I took my daughter along to. No, that was before Facebook. That was before Instagram. That was before the algorithm could actually take some of our relatives down a rabbit hole. And what I have seen, and it's shown up in my email box, and possibly with some of the other MPs as well, is a push from evangelical right Christians to calling to us to stop with our solidarity with Palestinian people. And also, I have noticed that particular part of our society is also scratching around the edges of some of the anti-vax stuff as well. So I think we in here in Aotearoa New Zealand, we have to build that solidarity as well, but also recognizing that we are dealing in a situation where sometimes when you hand somebody the truth, they don't have the necessary tools to deal with it. And so that's part of our struggle as well. And then of course, and I think it's a really, really important thing to bring up, because it plays out all around the world, and that is the role of American imperialism. The role of American imperialism, the way that the Israeli state is armed to the teeth because the Americans give them everything. They have the most up-to-date killing weapons, helicopters, the whole lot. They're one of the most powerful military forces in the world, and yet often when you watch the media and you hear the dialogue, they act as though that they're the victims, when actually they're one of the most powerful militaries in the world. They've got nuclear weapons, and that plays itself out here in some ways here in New Zealand as well. The way that particular line is taken, and it was said very well by our first speaker, who said, well, when they tried to play this, that there are two sides of equivalence that are competing here. Like these kids with these rocks are in some way in the same vicinity as these people armed to the teeth with attack helicopters and so on and forth. It is not equal equivalent. One of them is armed to the teeth with the best technology that money can buy, and that is American imperialism. And so the challenge for us, of course, is pushing back against that narrative, pushing back against what that means here as well, because that is a powerful force. That is a powerful force with a lot of money and a lot of backing here as well. And we are part of the Five Eyes Alliance. So it tips that way very, very easily in ways that are very uncomfortable for myself, and I hope also for many of us on this Zoom as well. And so I'll end in the same way that I began by saying, ko te mea nui, ko te mea nui, ko te whakātiu tēnei me te aroha, ko te whakātiu mai tēnei me te manaakitanga, ko te tangata kia tai, a tinana mai, ki te whaki ona tautoko. And so what that translates is, in order for a person to express their love, to express their caring, and to express their solidarity, it is important that they show up, that they listen, and that we take the actions that you give to us seriously, and we push for that in the house. Nō reira, ki runga I tērā o nā kaupapa kōrero, tērā noi ho nōpū nei, o reira, tēnā koutou, tēnei hauna e mihi ana, kia koutou e hāpai ana, I o koutou ne hapori, tēnā koutou katoa, kia ora everyone.